Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. If you are new, my name is Leanne, and welcome back to another What's for Dinner video. Today I am sharing with you 3 really easy dinner recipes that we had recently, and let's get started into the first recipe. Alright, so for this first recipe we are making meatloaf, and I have got 1 egg in a bowl, and I'm adding 1 pound of ground beef, which I apparently am struggling to get out of the package because I did not cut a large enough hole, and I just kept struggling instead of fixing that. Now I'm adding about 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs. I happen to be using gluten-free pancos, but you can use whatever you choose. And then about 1 teaspoon each of minced onion powder, and garlic powder, and then salt to taste, which I think I probably did about 1 teaspoon. And then you could add pepper too if you want, but if you're new, I don't like to cook with pepper. I say that every time, but you know, we never know if there's someone new watching a video. And then I added about 1 tablespoon of butter, and, or no, oh my goodness, 1 tablespoon of mustard. Sorry guys. And then 1/4 cup of bacon. I use real bacon pieces from Aldi, and we're just going to mix this all together and make ourselves a meatloaf. Now, typically meatloaf recipes call for 1.5 pounds of ground beef. I always just have 1 pound packages, and so I just kind of adapt accordingly. So if you wanted to make more, that's enough for us. It's just my husband and I, so that's what I do. But if you're using more meat, you might want to just adjust the seasonings a little bit, possibly add an egg or maybe a tablespoon of milk. And then if it's too liquidy, you can just add more breadcrumbs. So that's kind of how I make that adjustment. Now, I put that in the oven at 350 for about 40 to 45 minutes. While that's getting started, we're going to cook us up some sweet potatoes. So I'm just peeling them, kind of. Honestly, you don't have to peel them. I started peeling them because there were spots that looked like they might be bad, but then when I started peeling them, they looked completely fine underneath. So it doesn't really matter if you peel them or not. That's your call. And then we're going to slice them into wedges. You know, you're supposed to slice them evenly because obviously they're going to cook more evenly, but it's hard to cut sweet potatoes evenly. They're not all like same shape. They're, you know, they're just odd shaped. So do the best you can. And then we're going to put them in a bowl and toss them with some avocado oil. You could also use extra virgin olive oil, whatever your choice is. I just like to use the avocado oil. And then I'm just seasoning them with some salt, garlic powder, and onion powder, and we're just going to mix them up, and I'll add a little bit more once I've got them on my baking sheet. I don't know, I needed a bigger bowl here clearly, and I was having a hard time tossing it and getting everything coated, so I just added a little more seasoning once I had them on this baking sheet, which I lined with aluminum foil and then just sprayed with some cooking spray. For ease of cooking this dinner, I put these in also at 350, and they took probably about 30-ish minutes. So that's why I got the meatloaf in first, and then I came back and added this once that was going for a little while. So get them spread out somewhat evenly and pop them in the oven, and then you're going to want to take them out about halfway through to give them a good toss. So that's what I'm doing that's what I'm doing right here. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That really does help me out. And if you enjoy recipes, I would love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I do share What's for Dinner videos about once a week, sometimes every other week, and I also sprinkle in some other recipe videos here and there, along with other stuff that I like to do, like vlogs and DIYs and grocery hauls and that kind of thing. So to add our veggie to our dinner, we're just going to steam up some frozen green beans, and I'm getting those going. Those usually only take 8 to 10 minutes-ish. So now we are making our sauce for the meatloaf. This is truly a to taste, so mix it, taste it, mix it, add what you want, but it's ketchup, a little bit of sriracha sauce, and some brown sugar. And then once our meatloaf has about 15 minutes left, so about 30 minutes into this, give or take, depending on the size of your meatloaf, we're going to just add on our topping and throw this back in the oven. Now I do end up making a little bit more of this sauce because I do like to add it on the side just with each individual serving as well. So you can of course feel free to do that. And then I wanted to check on the sweet potatoes because it had been about 30-ish minutes here, so we're just giving it a toss and everything still looked okay, so I decided to throw it back in the oven until our meatloaf was all done. And here is our dinner. We had the meatloaf, some steamed green beans, and some sweet potato fries. And this was really good, and it came together in about an hour, so that's probably the longest any of the meals in this video are taking, which isn't too bad, but we're going for some quick and easy meals this week. So this next one, super quick and easy. Now, bear with me here, this looks really awkward as I'm using the paper towels, but I was just kind of patting dry a couple of boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and we're getting them in a skillet. I'm going to boil them. I don't boil chicken very often, but this is what we're doing for this recipe, although you could do it in the crock pot or just cook it in the skillet, but this is what we're going with. So I've got some water, and then I'm seasoning that with some salt, some garlic powder, and onion powder. Now, you could also boil your chicken in chicken broth if you wanted, but this is just what I decided to do, and I'm actually meal prepping this earlier in the day because we had a busy day and busy evening, and I wanted everything all done for that evening when we came back from our plans, from what we had going on. So I'm using my meat thermometer because I wasn't totally sure how long it would take. It does not take long for boneless, skinless chicken breast, maybe a total of 10 to 15 minutes. And I did add water, as you can see, partway through to make sure they were fully covered. And I'm just removing them and putting them in a bowl, and we're just dicing them up into small, bite-sized pieces. In the beginning here, I was trying to save myself a dish, but I was kind of struggling to cut it up in this bowl, and so eventually here I get a little wiser and just get my cutting board. I'm also pulling out any little pieces, trimming it that didn't look good. And so, like I said, we're just cutting these into small bite-sized pieces. I didn't even tell you yet. I did not even tell you yet. Sorry, got a little excited there. What we are making for dinner. We're going to be having some buffalo chicken wraps. Super easy. We used to do this all of the time, and it's been a long time since we made them. So this was fun to do this again. It's just a very quick meal to make. I actually used to just boil chicken and cube it up like this and throw it in the freezer to have for a quick and easy meal, so you could do that as well. And I'm just using Frank's Red Hot sauce. You could also use buffalo wing sauce, but Sweet Baby Ray's buffalo wing sauce is really good, and we're just coating that up really good. Now, I put this in the refrigerator because I was making it ahead of time, but when it came time, I did warm it up because I do like chicken in the buffalo chicken wraps warm. And then we warmed up some flour tortillas and added some shredded cheese and some veggies. Now, we had tacos the night before this, which I did not film for you because we did it just like we always do it. And I just made sure to shred up extra cheese and cut up extra veggies so that this night's dinner was very, very quick and easy. So on my buffalo chicken wraps, I like cheese and lettuce and tomato, and that's it for mine. I believe my husband put on some avocado and some sour cream. I like sour cream on my tacos, but I decided to pass for my buffalo chicken wrap. But that is it, and it came out really good. I think my husband had 2 of these, if they're of course not enough to fill you up. But that was it for that meal. Very quick and easy. So for our last dinner, we're making a cheesy kielbasa pasta dish, and I'm getting started by shredding up some cheese. I used white cheddar cheese. That was my cheese of choice. And I'm shredding up about a cup of cheese. You can, of course, use the bag shredded cheese, but I prefer freshly grated, so that's what I'm doing. And then I'm dicing up an onion here. I'm just using, it's about a half of an onion that I already had in the refrigerator, and I just felt like that was enough for this recipe. The recipe does call for 1.5 cups of diced onion, and so this is probably not quite that, but that's all right. I just did that to my preference. And now we're just heating up in a skillet some extra virgin olive oil, and we're going to begin sauteing our onion. Now this may vary just a little bit from the recipe, but not a whole lot. I'll have the original recipe linked down below. So while that's going, we're going to slice up our kielbasa. This is the one I usually normally use. It is from Aldi, and we're just going to slice that up. Did you see that? Yeah, So that happened. And we're adding that to the skillet, and we're just going to cook that until the onion is translucent and the kielbasa gets a little bit of coloring on the sides, on each side. Just kind of keep tossing that around. I love it when it gets those little brown crispy spots. That just gives it so much flavor. So that's what we're going to do here. Alright, so once that was cooked to my liking, I'm adding in, I don't know, a scoop of garlic. I just always say this kind of stuff is to taste, but you can follow I think the recipe called for 2 minced up cloves. So we're just going to stir that around just for a few seconds. You don't want to do it too long because you don't want the garlic to burn. Now you can see there are some bits at the bottom of the pan. We're going to get those up by adding in 2 cups of chicken broth, and then we're going to just kind of scrape the bottom of the pan, so to speak, to get up all of those little brown bits. I don't really know what else to call them, but there's lots of flavor in that, so we're just going to scrape up the bottom and get all of that going. Now we're adding in about a half a cup of heavy whipping cream, and we're just going to mix that all together. Now the recipe then calls for some diced tomatoes. I did not have any, well, I did not, that's not true. I didn't want to open up a can of diced tomatoes. Oh, I'm also seasoning with salt, once again, salt and pepper if you want. I didn't add too much because the kielbasa I feel like has a decent amount of salt. But I had some leftover marinara sauce in the fridge, and that's what I went with instead of the diced tomatoes. The only thing I would say is that at the end I had a little bit more liquid than I think the recipe was supposed to. I'm not sure. So I probably should have just lessened the chicken broth a little bit, but you can also just use diced tomatoes. And then you're going to add in 8 ounces of pasta. I went with egg noodles because that's actually all I had on hand, because we don't actually use a lot of pasta. So that's all I had on hand. So I was guesstimating that because I think that package was like 12 ounces. Now the recipe I think said to cook this for 15 minutes or something like that. I'm just going to cook this until my noodles are done. These ones I think only take like 7 to 9 minutes. So we're just going to bring that to a simmer, put on the lid, and let that go until our pasta is done. Now I also wanted to cook up a veggie on the side, so we're just going to steam up some frozen broccoli, and that was a very quick and easy side to go with this. I would say this whole dinner came together in about 30 minutes, so very quick to do. And once your pasta is done, of course I'm going to check it to make sure it is. And of course at this point it was. We're going to turn off the heat, and actually I'm going to remove the pan from the heat. Hindsight, I might have let it go just a little bit longer to help cook off some more of that liquid, but once again I think that might just be because I used the marinara. And now we're going to add in that 1 cup of cheese, and we're just going to stir that around until it is well combined and the cheese gets nice and, melted. Obviously that's what we're going for. This was not a problem with the liquid being what it was, but I let it rest for a little bit to kind of thicken up as well. But I would say you want enough liquid to cover the pasta. So what I might have done, another option would be to just put a little bit in, scrape up the bits in the bottom, then put the pasta in, and then add however much more liquid you need to make sure your pasta is covered. But all in all, this was a very good, quick, and easy meal. And that was what was for dinner on this night. And that's going to do it for today's video. Once again, if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up because that really helps me out. Subscribe if you are new so you don't miss out on my future videos. And I will see you in the next video. Bye guys!